Let's go, girls. Switching now to you, madam, for some recruiting news that we might have missed.
Man, I've been swimming in the recruiting news this past offseason. I mean, man, there's so much, but we're just going to hit on a couple of the more notable commitments that's happened in the past week, because we've covered a lot of them on Rising already. And, you know, throughout our YouTube page, you can see us releasing top sixes of other prospects and stuff like that. I'm just going to mention some of the more notable news that has happened in the past week. And to start off strong here, we're going to bring somebody on to help us with this news. We're bringing on another male from our staff.
If he says, "Thank you, Carter," I'm out. I'm done.
And here to join us to talk about Carday Mack, we've got our chief Atascocita correspondent, Mr. Gavin Moritz, on the line. Gavin, do you read us?
Hey, how's it going, ladies?
Going pretty well. Thank you so much for joining Women Talking Football. I'm so glad you're on here today, and I think this is your second
photo.
I think this is your second time on WTF, isn't it?
This is awesome.
No, this is my first, and thank you guys for having me on.
We had Trevor on.
Oh, it was Trevor to talk about the
confused with Trevor
No,
Bullard.
I didn't. I'm sorry. Okay, we're just gonna continue on here. Gavin, I wanted to talk to you specifically because we had some big news, recruiting news, come out of the Houston area this past week. Atascocita, 2026 athlete. I'm going to call him an athlete because he's being recruited as a running back, but he also plays quarterback at Atascocita. Carday Mack commits to Arizona State. And first of all, I love this commitment. I think he is going to be a really good fit for Arizona State. I'll let you tell them why here in a second. But he is one of the most dynamic players in the state, in my opinion. Threw for over 1,800 yards and 18 touchdowns, only throwing 3 interceptions on the season last year. Ran for over 1,900 yards and 22 touchdowns. Also he caught 4 touchdown passes as well to the mix there. But Gavin, I wanted to ask you first, what type of player is Arizona State and Kenny Dillingham's squad getting in Carday Mack?
Well, I think when you look at Atascocita's Carday Mack, I mean, we've got him listed at DCTF as 5'9", 170, but I think he plays much bigger than that. He's a broken tackle machine who has the ability, I think, to run through almost any defender that I've seen at the high school level. But he also possesses the speed and the quickness to break off, those long runs that we see weekly in the Craig Stump and the Joshua Stump offense there for the Eagles.
And you and I were talking a little bit before you came on here, and you were kind of saying, I think Atascocita's scheme kind of changed when Carday Mack broke out. Talk a little bit about that and how he's kind of taken this offense as his own and ran with it.
Well, I've been around Atascocita a good while now. I'm starting to feel pretty old, but when you look at Atascocita's scheme, traditionally in the last decade and a half or so, they've been a spread team, right? Even when they had Patrick Taylor, who's playing in the NFL now at running back, they threw the ball a lot. But since Carday burst onto the scene in 2023, everyone remembers that week 2 game against 4 touchdowns. You've seen him still throw the ball, of course, but their identity in Joshua Stump's offense in that time frame has been pounding the rock a little bit more, and Carday is the focal point of that. Even when he's playing the quarterback spot, they run the zone reads, the RPO style plays, the quarterback draws that, to me, allow Carday to do what he does best.
And when you take a look at the high production and versatility that Carday Mack brought to this Atascocita offense, how will that translate to Arizona State? Like, how will he be a good fit for the Sun Devils?
Well, I think when you look at Carday, I think obviously a name that rings a bell with the scheme that he kind of fits into with Kenny Dillingham's offense there at Arizona State is Cam Scatabo, right? Mm-hmm. We saw Cam Scatabo, the last year especially into the college football playoff. He was a very versatile guy, threw the ball a little bit when they needed him to, kind of out of the wildcat, kind of a halfback pass sort of deal. Could run the ball obviously extremely well. He just got drafted by the New York Giants, which pains me a little bit as a Cowboys fan. But he also was very productive in the passing game and pass protection, which I think Carday does all of that really, really well. And that's not to say that Carday is the exact same player as Cam Scatabo, but they have a similar frame, and I think they have a similar skill set.
And then finally, this one is more for the Sun Devil fans that will watch this later. What kind of a player are the Sun Devil fans getting in Carde Mack off the field? Because I know you know him personally, so I want you to talk a little bit about his character and who he is off the football field.
Well, I've interviewed Carde a couple times now, and off the field, he's genuinely, I mean this with all sincerity, one of the nicest guys I've come across at the high school level. He's very respectful, answers every question always. He stays after the games and practices to talk to everyone. And I think he's a great guy who Kenny Dillingham, and I think the Sun Devil fans are going to love from day one.
And then finally, because we are Texas high school football centric here, what can we expect from Atascocita heading into this season?
Well, I think we always talk about Atascocita set up to make at least a run to the regional final every year. I think that's true again this year. I don't know, obviously, for certain in late April that it'll be against North Shore. I don't like to look that far ahead, but I think it's safe to pencil in the Craig Stump and Willie Gaston coaching matchup to play twice a year at this point. Mm-hmm. And it's always last year's district game was a ton of fun. I actually got to call that one. I was at the regional final as well when they played. And I'll say this, if Atascocita can get past the North Shore hump in Region 3, yep, I think Coach Stump Eagles can make a run to Arlington and play for a state title, which they've never done in the program's history.
That's kind of like the chip on their shoulder, right? Every single year, they're like, okay, that's kind of the, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
It's the bridge that they haven't been able to cross.
That's exactly what I was thinking. But I think they'll be just fine either way. Gavin, thank you so much for hopping on. He's our chief Atascocita correspondent and Carde Mack correspondent down in the Houston area. Appreciate it, and I hope you had some fun.
Hey, I had a blast. Thank you, guys, and hashtag thank you, Carde.
All right, cut him off. You ruined it. Thanks, Gavin. Appreciate you hopping on and talking about Carde Mack.
Bye, Gavin.
I don't know if I should blame Carter at this point or if I should blame the two of you, because I leave for a month and now it's just an infestation of DCTF men on this program.
But we've got some good insight from them today.
Yes, we have.
Yeah. Anyways, Carde Mack commits to Arizona State. And what I really think is interesting about Arizona State's recruiting right now is that they're going after Texas guys like nuts. I mean, you take a look at the 2026 class, they get the number 2 quarterback out of the class of 2026, Jake Fetty, out of El Paso del Valle. He's one of the most prolific passers in the state. Julian Hugo out of Cibolo Steel. And then you take a look back at the 2025 class and you get Grayson Rigdon out of Columbus. So just their ability to recruit in the state of Texas in recent years has been phenomenal.
Yeah, and that's every now and then I feel like in recruiting, which I am not an expert in by any stretch, but for looking at it from a college perspective, there is typically a program that will hire a guy that has been around Texas long enough, so that way they feel like they can try and get in on it, and then they start having success because, shocker, Texas high school football athletes are really stinking good at football.
Correct.
And then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, they're in your backyard every single time. Like, they've got to have someone that just lives down here, you know, and is just recruiting Texas.
Right.
So Arizona State is definitely that program of note in my mind right now that is locked in on Texas high school football.
Right. Well, and hitting up that El Paso region too is like genius.
Oh, Jake Fetty's
gold.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Moving on here, another notable commit that I wanted to hit on that happened this past week is 4-star 2026 safety Markel Ford commits to SMU. And if you didn't know, he played at Mesquite Horn this past season. Dallas Morning News recently put out a statement saying that he was going to be attending DeSoto next year. Now, we have not received confirmation about that yet, so I'm just going to refer to him as Mesquite Horn's Markel Ford because that's where he plays last season. But I believe he is going to be attending DeSoto for his senior season. But Markel Ford, one of the most dynamic safeties in the state of Texas. We have him as the 5th safety in the class of 2026 in the state of Texas. 6 foot 185, so amazing size for a safety. He recently decommitted from Texas A&M, and as a junior at Mesquite Horn, he recorded 45 tackles, 1 interception, and 3 pass deflections to earn first team 11-6A all district honors. And he held over 35 scholarship offers, decommitted from Texas A&M, and is now going to be playing right down the street, literally in his own backyard for Rhett Lashley and company at SMU.
And he is the ideal recruit that SMU and Rhett Lashley should be going for. He is a hometown kid that you can hometown kid, regardless if it's Mesquite, Horn, or DeSoto, doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
When you have elite level talent that's getting that national attention, that has 35 different offers, to be able to go in and solidify a deal as of now with a player like that going, hey, we're keeping you home. Mom and dad at every game, family at every game. You're right here. That is the ideal person that they should be trying to bring in at SMU. That's the highlight of being in Dallas.
Yeah, you see a lot of Forney kids getting SMU offers. You see a lot of kids from Richardson, the Richardson area, Lake Highlands area.
Sealing the DFW border is what they need to do if they want to be the team of Dallas.
Well, and making the college football playoff last year absolutely boosts that just a little bit.
Say that probably helps a little bit.
Correct. But what I really liked about Powers and I have talked about Ford a little bit on our YouTube channel because we listed the top 5 safeties in the class of 2026, and he described him kind of as a field general, and I really like that because from literally the moment that he stepped onto the field as a sophomore at Mesquite Horn, he kind of just took control of the offense, becoming that field general. He actually knocked himself out at a game last season because of the toughness, how tough that this kid plays.
That seems like something you would do if you were a football player.
Oh, dude, I so would. I'm so competitive. I so would knock
Why knock
myself
the other person out when you can knock yourself out,
Yeah, I mean, why not? That's how tough he plays.
Yeah, so, that's crazy.
SMU, you're getting you're getting a tough dude in Markel Ford there. These next couple of players, we had 3 more prospects in the state of Texas commit to their college of their choice. And we'll just go ahead and list them off here. I put them all in a graphic. And starting off, we'll talk about Lancaster 2026 cornerback Victor Lincoln. He committed to Oklahoma State this past week. 6 foot 165. He's got really, really good size. And he committed to Oklahoma State over programs like Arkansas, Kansas State, Baylor, and Vanderbilt. You'll like this next one, being a Go Cougs fan. Colleen Shoemaker, 2026 offensive tackle. Troy Pless committed to Houston this past week.
Pumped about that.
6'5", 295, massive size at the tackle position. And he chose the Houston Cougars over programs like Arkansas, Baylor, North Texas, and a couple more of those offers. And finally, to round out the Texas high school football commits this past week, it's Ridge Point 2026 wide receiver Robert Haynes commits to Arkansas, and he's listed at 6'1", 175 pounds, and he chose the Razorbacks over programs like Louisiana, Monroe, Louisville, however you want to say it, Pitt. He's got a lot of offers, but big pickup there by Arkansas. So a lot of noise in the Texas high school football recruiting community this past week. Excited for all of these prospects to shine at the next level. We'll continue to cover you there.
That's why I laugh when people ask, when they hear that you work at Dave Campbell's Texas Football, have y'all gotten like, oh, well, what do y'all do when it's not football season?
Cover recruiting.
And I was like, do you realize that this is a year-round thing? Because coaching changes don't stop.
Recruiting never sleeps.
Stop.
No.
We put out this little thing called a magazine during the thing. We've got all the other sports, but it's always funny when it's like, oh yeah, it's April. There's nothing to talk about. And then it's like you just throw up information.
Right. Because official visits happen in April and May and June. Oh, but wait, unofficials happen in like January, February, March. It's like it never sleeps. And then everybody wants to commit before their senior season. So that happens in the summer. It really never sleeps.
It doesn't stop.
No, it doesn't.